Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Monday in the Rev, and another week to go. It's the week before Christmas, and all through the house, not a political tick was stirring, not even a mouse. So, and but I like the opening of the flush. The quote, I'll go over it later, but also the fact that you hit that Friday show hard, which is really good because I should say not a dictator was stirring, not even a mouse,
That's right. That's right.
because I think we have to continue to highlight how this city. I mean, it's incredible to say, but we are actually worse than Diamond. Yeah, ho ho ho. Yeah, and but it's incredible. I mean, that school committee is just. I mean, look, the city council is bad, but the school committee, that's like watching the Politburo meet.
I know.
I'm telling you, it's just nuts.
Can't make it up.
No, you
Can't make it
can't.
up at all.
No,
And I have no problem with telling people. I've filed complaints with the Ethics Commission against Paul and the superintendent. I filed complaints with the Inspector General's office against Paul and the superintendent and against the entire school department, especially for taking mechanics, making them department heads, giving them a raise, and not firing them for using city property and city resources to fund his own private business. Sorry, doesn't work. Just doesn't work for me. But hey, what the hell am I? I don't count for anything anyhow.
No, but no, it's look, it's true. I mean, this is, and the sad part about it is, besides just being, a massive insult to their sworn duty and a burden on the taxpayers because of all the wasted money that I mean, they got literally hundreds of thousands of dollars that they've misappropriated. And they just don't care. And it's like I said, it's like watching a Politburo. It's crazy. You can't run a government this way. This is worse than Biden. I mean, look, Biden's doing anything he wants now. Nobody sees him except they're blowing money. These people don't care about the taxpayers. And I'm going to read you a quote. I pulled it up from the Weekend Flush because it's, you guys should always read it because it's always good. Where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, and that's really important, that line, where poverty, because that's what they're doing. They're reinforcing poverty,
Yeah, no question about
where
it.
ignorance prevails. And there you go, ignorance. You can't be ignorant to what they do. You got to pay attention, right? And where any one class, which is the market rate housing class, okay, is made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them. Neither persons nor property will be safe. Frederick Douglass, a great orator, by the way, the great Lincoln Douglas debates. So if you don't know who Frederick Douglass is, learn some history. His debates with Abraham Lincoln were epic. He was a great debater, and I mean, this whole thing just shows that people have to pay attention. You can't allow, we have to do what they did on a national level. You got to take back your government. Look, the Democrats have just blown money. They've destroyed the country. Now you give the Republicans a shot. If they don't pull their weight in 4 years, you dump them. You got to keep doing this. You got to listen to these brilliant minds that were our forefathers that came up with these kind of quotes and did the things like create the Constitution. I mean, you got to listen to people like Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, when he says, Politicians are like diapers. You got to change them often and for the same reason, because they're full of shit.
That's it.
What you have to do. You can't keep these ticks in forever. And that's what you do, especially in these states. I mean, Markey's been in there for over 40 years, and he ran on term limits. Warren, God, I can't remember. I don't know how long that nitwit has been in, and they're oblivious to the world around them. They're still pushing to spend billions of dollars on illegals because they don't care. They're going to keep getting reelected no matter how much money of our money they spend. And maybe we can't do anything for some of these people on a federal level, but we can help. We can really have an impact on the local level. Remember, 12, 14,000 people show up to vote. Remember what happened this time when it went red, 49,000. People are going to be pissed off about what happens in the city of Fall River, not just in what happens in Washington. So get irate, get involved, and at this Christmas season, go bah humbug. I don't like the way Fall River's being run. And that school committee is a disgrace.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is.
People should be forced to watch that as a torture. Watch those meetings as a torture. It's better than a Chinese water torture. Because these people are nuts. I mean, they're blatant.
Yes, I read that article.
Yeah. And I also read the article of why we went red that you sent me in a Commonwealth magazine.
Yeah.
What was the reason, CJ?
No housing.
Housing. That's right. And even they know that even in Boston, Fall River's just shitting all over the people.
I'm going to read you the headline from that article. In Fall River, the scarcity and cost of housing helped turn a blue city red. And let me give you a few statistics that come out of this article. Okay. Some Fall River officials and leaders have argued that the city has done enough. It's not more than enough. It's not more than enough. Affordable rental housing and doesn't need anyone anymore. The Mass Law Reform Institute report discovered a very different story. 1, allowed decreases in affordable and public housing. 2, prioritized upscale developments, adding more than 600 market rate units since 2017 and giving zoning approval to over 2,000 market rate units. How many times have I said a zoning board of appeals is absolutely ridiculous? They're destroying the fabric of Fall River. Very, I keep saying.
And read where that report came from again, just so our viewers can remember that. Look, it's not us. They say you guys are always complaining. You're always but listen, these are people who. It's like when we get crime statistics and Fall River denies that all Coogan does is lie. We've done enough. Public housing is not affordable housing.
That's right.
Market rate housing, workforce housing. We've said this ad nauseum, but these people are telling you, everybody else except people in Fall River know that we're getting shit all over. We're a low-income city, that the lowest priority in a low-income city is affordable housing. That is a damn travesty. That's why Paul Coogan can't get elected again.
Right. Period. This report comes from the Massachusetts Law Reform Institute.
And what do they know?
They don't know much. Okay. Developed almost no mixed income or affordable housing, and very little for families with children. Allocated none of or only a small share of the millions of dollars available that could have been used to preserve and increase the supply of affordable buildings. None of the $85.6 million in federal ARPA funds available to the city. None of the recent $14.9 million in community development block grant funds. None of the recent $14.9 million in community development block grants, and only 5% of the $12.8 million in Community Preservation Act funds through 2023, although a minimum of 10% is required. No wonder Fall River voters are so angry. No, it's no wonder is right. Okay, it's no wonder is right.
No, that article should be sent to every city councilor. We should send that to every city councilor. You should call them up and tell them to read that article and pay attention and stop listening to Paul's bullshit and Seth Akins' bullshit and all the bullshit they tell you, and Kenny Fiola getting rich about this stuff. Yeah, well, yeah, it was no, well, the zoning. Listen, in Paul River, you're right. We need thousands of listen. When Somerset, a town of 18,000 people, builds more affordable housing units than the city of Fall River that has nearly 100,000 people, do the math. You think they care about you? That's why you got to go to the polls. This is crazy. I'm glad somebody quantified it. These people are telling you that everybody else sees what they're doing. You got to get to the polls because people are complaining, but they got to do something.
The article appears in the Commonwealth Beacon newsletter, comes out daily, and it was written by Judith Lieben, and it was written on December 15th. So that was only yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you now, the article is not off by too much.
And I'll tell you, but they hit the real point that we've been talking about all the time, that, in Paul River, everything is beautiful. It's like Joe Biden. The border's closed. The economy's great. We're not really in debt. There's nothing flying. The drones they're not really drones. Everything is a lie. So Fall River, everything is a lie. The school committee does exactly what that person in North Carolina said. They spend 45 minutes at every meeting telling each other how great they are. And they do nothing for the people of Fall River except increase your cost of living. This is nuts. You can't allow this to happen anymore. We have to exercise our right to control our own government. And it's good to see, because listen, Paul gets on that useless radio station. We suck at radio. And he lies his ass off every time he gets on there. Oh, he's done enough. That's their soundbite line. That's their talking point. They've all been, it's like the mainstream media. Whenever they get a talking point, that's every single program, every single anchor will say exactly the same thing. That's the old con about propaganda. Tell a big enough lie often enough, from Hitler and Goebbels, and people will begin to believe it. And they're trying that. Like Coogan and all the rest of them will say, we've done enough. We've done enough. You haven't done shit. You haven't done anything since the 1980s. Because what you did in the 1980s, when the mayor's brother was in charge of the housing authority, you built a whole bunch of damn public housing units and then advertised to get people in, because he was going to get a pay raise, because his salary bonus was based on the amount of occupancy. So it wasn't for altruistic reasons. It wasn't because they love poor people. It was to make his brother get a fatter paycheck. And those units have been sustained. That is not the same as affordable housing for people who are trying to make ends meet. It's for people with extremely low incomes, like workforce housing is made for people with moderate incomes, and affordable housing is making for people who don't fall in those categories. And these people just get on there and they blatantly tell you lies all the time. Well, as another fellow veteran, as a veteran, I think it's noted that today is December 16th. It's not only the anniversary of the recall, but it is also the day that the Battle of the Bulge started in World War II, which my father fought in.
And isn't today somebody's special day?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
You're not sure? I'm pretty sure you're sure.
Maybe that person wants to forget it. I don't.
After a certain age,
that's right. You want to forget it. Today is not only the anniversary of the recall, but the big anniversary as a veteran, fellow veteran. It is the anniversary of the first day of the biggest battle in World War II in Europe, the Battle of the Bulge. My father fought in the Battle of the Bulge, so it was. It has even more special meaning to me because my dad was in it, in the battle, and fortunately he survived and came home. But yeah, I mean, look, you got to feel, I mean, the people are just being disregarded in the city of Fall River. That's what's tragic. We have this holiday season, and everybody's going to run around and say, "Oh, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, I love you." Yeah, and then they're going to try to shoot you over a parking place at the mall. But that's another thing. But these people are phonies. They're going to be throwing out all kinds of Christmas joy and stuff while they've been doing nothing. Nothing for the people. Since Paul Coogan got in, not one initiative has been made to help small business or the taxpayer. He's done nothing but make his friends rich and give his other friends jobs. That's all he's done. And he's going to hide in the 6th floor and never tell you anything. We get no information. People are screaming on a federal level about the feds won't tell us anything. People in New Jersey, don't worry about it. It's not a threat. Really? You're telling me that with all the tax money we spend, we can't figure out where them drones are coming from. They just don't want to tell you. It's like the school committee. Shut up. Don't ask any questions. We don't care if the people elected you. You spend the money the way we want you to spend it. Don't look at it. And while I'm on that, Carl and I'm going to give you the whole package rather than try to email it to you. I'm just going to put the whole packet together and we'll grab a coffee and I'll hand you that whole packet with all the legal precedents that they're violating. But, while we're in the Christmas season, it's time to say in Fall River, bah humbug. I'm sorry. That's the way it's got to be. You got to be the Grinch that stole Christmas in this city because you got to look at the reality of these people are destroying the city.
I thought the dictator was the Grinch.
That's right. He is.
He is.
He is. Yeah.
Exactly. And all his platitudes don't do it.
He's the Grinch that stole everything, CJ.
That's right.
Not just Christmas. He steals everything. Your tax money, everything.
Yeah. You're right, Jeff.
Yeah.
The dictator is like Scrooge. Actually, I think Scrooge is a better person than the dictator.
That's right. Yeah. Maybe he needs the ghost of Christmas past to appear to him or something,
something.
And the ghost of Christmas future. But the problem is his ghost of Christmas future is going to be full of money bags because he's walking out of his city a millionaire.
It's going to be market rate housing all the way around.
He's going to walk out of this city. Yeah, well, I mean, money, I have to look. You're right. I'm not. I voted for him the first time because, I knew he would never be a great mayor because I knew his background. I'd say, okay, but we had a mayor that was in a lot of legal issues, and I thought that even though he actually was a decent mayor, because I call him like I see him, as a manager, as a mayor, and absent his criminal, some of the criminal things that he was convicted of as an administrator in the city, he did a pretty good job. But I thought that with that hanging over his head, he could never be an effective leader any longer. And Coogan was supposed to be, remember, Coogan's like the modern day Markey. I'm running on term limits, but he's still here nearly 50 years later. He's still in Washington. So that's the longest term limit I've ever seen. I guess Markey meant you could serve no longer than 100 years in Washington. I don't know. But that's Coogan. It's my memory, and I still got a really good memory. Does my memory serve me correctly, or didn't Coogan say he was kind of like just a transitional guy that came in to just stabilize the city, and he was going to give us a tax break and be transparent? Isn't that kind of what he said, CJ?
That's exactly what he said.
Okay, but now he's looking for a fourth term because all his rich friends are saying, shut up, stay in there, you're getting rich, we're getting rich, and these people are not going to do anything about it. And they're not until they show up at the polls and boot his ass out of there. And boot everybody in that school committee except Colin Dyers and Kevin Aguirre. They got to go. They got to go. How they're sitting in that thing and allowing this guy to say, you don't have a right to ask questions, to look at numbers, but you have to vote the way I want you to vote to spend the taxpayers' money. None of those people belong in a city in a school committee.
Or worse, you don't need the numbers because you're going to vote against it anyway.
Well, yeah, that's the most absurd thing in the world. Because, it just goes to show why he never made principal or he never really taught in the classroom. Apparently he didn't major in math. I know that for sure because he always said, I don't know what the numbers are. But he says, you don't get to see the numbers because you're going to vote no. Maybe the guy wanted to see the numbers to see if he had to vote yes or no on the taxpayers' spending. You know what I mean? That would be a lot. That would be what somebody with a functional brain would say, oh, you really want to look at the numbers? That's why the law says they have to look at the numbers because you can't just vote because you're spending other people's money. And public officials, as I read off that legal opinion, have a greater duty because they're spending taxpayer money. You don't say, well, you're going to vote no. Well, maybe he wouldn't vote no if he looked at the numbers and said, hey, you spend it in the right place. They don't want you to look at the numbers because then you'll know how much money they're wasting. I mean, this is crazy. If you would have told me, with all the mayors I've gone through, that this city would get this bad, we have never had a mayor like this. This guy is an absolute dictator. You don't do what he tells you, you're gone. Now we got another superintendent, one of his groomed superintendents. Everybody knew they were going to get it. All the department heads, he takes care of. Everybody that gets a job, you got to swear the oath to Paul River. Not Fall River, to Paul River.
I got to interrupt you there. As Jeff said, he sent me something on Facebook. I just brought it up. I'm going to read it to you. Okay. Residents will come out for our elections after the recent national election. I can really see a recall against this administration. I don't know. I don't know how much of a recall we're going to get. I don't know. I mean, Jazel had 2 and was reelected in both of them. Okay. And Paul couldn't win in a recall election. But when he ran unopposed, or I should say opposed by somebody who didn't have a half a brain and following what he was supposed to do and opened his mouth and sent out stupid emails, you can't win. But I'm going to read you this thing. It's from E for All South Coast. Exciting vision for North Main Street in Fall River. Last Tuesday night at the Belmont, that's the Belmont Club, Patty Rigo of Viva Fall River inspired a crowd of 50-plus stakeholders with a look back of the journey of revitalization and a bold vision for the future. Patty also introduced the new TDI fellow, Nick Schellenberg, taking over efforts from James McKeague. With the TDI grant in its final year, the spotlight is on collaboration to achieve a shared vision for the area. TDI. E4All was proud to show up in support of this effort, and we're thrilled about the opportunities that present for local entrepreneurs. Together, we're building a future. Really?
Well, yeah.
Really?
Well, you know what that is? That's a manufactured propaganda promo. But you know what the most important thing is? Because I got a very sensitive ear for the written and spoken word.
I know.
You know what? Didn't it say 50 stakeholders?
Yeah.
That means they got a financial interest in that development.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they were there. Because listen, does anybody remember that meeting at the Flint about affordable housing about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, when they had all these pictures and all the things about the development shit? Listen, nobody's going to develop North Main Street. They're looking to line their own pockets, because what happens is North Main Street will then become derelict again, because the city has no small businesses. Nobody has any money. And this city will be Detroit, not Newton. These people in their bullshit, all their flowery talk and it well put together. This is something you'd read to Newton while you're showing all these things. Oh, look at the great thing. And look, it's not only Fall River. It's look at Providence. They were going to do this, do that, and then the bridge falls apart. The politicians are full of shit. When they start making a president, Viva Fall River's got a vested interest. Like they said, they're all stakeholders. You don't see some poor son of a bitch whose business is going under, down there cheering, because they're not doing anything for him or her. This is a bunch of political ticks all running around, patting each other on the back. And whether it's the school committee talking about how great they are for 45 minutes, or these people who are full of bullshit, it's all black noise. And it's crazy. Yeah. You're right. No, you're right, Jeff. I mean, you get rid of Coogan, I don't care who you get. It's just like everybody says, should have never elected Trump. Well, you got to elect somebody but Biden. He was destroying the world. Now, if Trump doesn't do what he's promised, if they don't turn the city, you got to replace him. It's my philosophy. I've never been a Democrat or a Republican. I'll be perfectly clear. I vote for my own self-interest. If people are going to make my life better, make my retirement check go farther, make my life easier, keep me safe, put my money where I think it belongs, into public safety and education, not in creating all kinds of jobs and deputy chiefs and every other shit to get more money and they're not on the line doing the job, I'm not going to vote for them. But I will always vote for the lesser of two evils. We've always had this debate with people that, I don't like either candidate, so I'm not going to vote. Well, that's your prerogative as an American. I don't believe that's the right thing to do. I think we always have to try to pick the lesser of two evils. If you tell me you got to vote between Joe Stalin and Adolf Hitler, it's a tough vote because it's a pretty close race. But I'm going to vote for the lesser of the two evils. You know what I'm saying? So
I hear you. And, Truth Seeker, I know you sent me a message on Facebook, but I can't read it for some reason. I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah. And it always gets down to that bottom line, CJ. People are going to vote. The only way we can change things is people have to vote.
Well, according to the mainstream media, The drones that were out over the weekend along the Seekonk, East Providence area were drones from the police department. At least they were, quick to answer the question. So it'll be interesting to see. Truth Seeker, I went to the Facebook thing. It's in Messenger, but because you're not a friend and you're also not secured, they won't let the message through. That's what's going on. It's just a Facebook thing. It's not me. It's Facebook. I tried 3 ways to get the message and I can't get it.
Unfortunate. Well,
Yeah.
you can post it like the other people post, right? Through Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but it's just it always gets down to what Teddy Roosevelt said. What the reason Rome collapsed was that the Roman citizens stopped voting. They allowed the government to run itself, and no matter what country you look at, that book I got by Victor David Hansen, The End of Civilization, fundamentally, the end of all things, which is a really good book. You should read it. People should read it. It's a great historical novel. It talks about how all these long-standing nations collapsed from within, it's all because the people began to allow people like this, and this is what you got. You got people like Markey who ran, on term limits, and they've been there forever. You got Warren. You got Coogan that said, I'm going to run, I'm going to stabilize the city. I'm going to be a stabilizing force, and blah, blah, blah. And now he found out this is a gold mine. That's why once they get to Washington, they never leave. Pelosi's running again. She pulled their papers, and I know she hurt it. She broke her hip, and she's in a hospital in Europe somewhere. So, I mean, I don't wish her any ill will on that. I hope she gets better, but I don't want to see her in office. She's 84 years old. She's going to run again. What does she want to stay there till she's 117? These people, they're crazy. Mitch McConnell's in a coma half the time, and he's a Republican, Yeah, well, that's his MO. No, you're right. That's his MO. What does Paul do? Remember when he said, you don't own a house, you live in public housing, you don't like it, go jump in a river? Paul Coogan's a piece of crap. Oh, let me be more frank. He's a piece of shit. Okay, we'll give you the real word. Okay, he's and he's getting more arrogant and cocky because he thinks he's untouchable, and he's a really rude person. He plays Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah, Paul, high five with all the kids, high five, and oh yeah, I'm Mr. Coogan. I'm cool. I'm cool. But then anybody that gives him any shit, it's like, shut up. Just because you got a bullet hole in your house, just get away from me, surf. Not everybody's got a bullet hole in their house. Go jump in the Taunton River. You don't like it. And that's the way he's running his administration in Paul River. You don't like it, go jump in a river. Well, we don't like it. We'll talk about it. And we're going to go to vote every single time to get your ass out of there. And everybody, all those other duds that are in the school committee and on the city council. I will only vote for people who have done the work for me as a citizen, period. And that means anybody but Paul Coogan. And the city councilors who are gone. There's only one that I know has been a consistent champion of the people on a council, and that is Michelle Dion. And on a school committee, the only people that are consistently looking out for the people and trying to do the right thing for the taxpayer are Kevin Aguirre and Colin Dias. So I can tell you, those three people have my vote.
Well, and what's interesting is as we've read, Paul acted like a child on We Suck at Radio. Okay. And I hope the FCC does get rid of AM radio at this point because it doesn't do anything for the general public, especially when they edit, restrict, and deny the public to have an opinion and to voice that opinion. If you ask a question of the dictator while he's on WSAR that he doesn't like, they dump you. If you have an opinion that is contrary to the owners of We Suck at Radio, they dump you.
Yeah. Well,
if you are a political activist in the city, they dump you.
Or you're barred completely like us.
Yeah.
You can't even get on. But listen, the reality is they're just like the mainstream media. They would not ask Kamala Harris a probing question when she ran for president. Right. They would not admit that Joe Biden was cognitively, they covered it. They not only didn't ask any questions, they covered everything up. But it's just like We Suck at Radio. Paul goes on there and calls people names. Did anybody ever, did anybody ever ask him, well, what's the problem? Did one of those WSAR moderators say, Paul, why did you tell somebody you don't deserve to see the numbers? Don't people who are going to vote on numbers, who are fiduciaries, deserve to have numbers? You're the guy that got on We Suck at Radio when we were asked questions about numbers. You said, I don't know nothing about it. I'm going to have to go ask the treasurer. You're a freaking dope. You're a dope. But what you're saying is, I don't care about the numbers. We're going to spend all the damn money we want any way we want it. Shut up. Pay your taxes. I'll keep raising them. And screw you all. Go jump in a river. That's what he's saying. And We Suck at Radio lets him say it. That's what happens. He goes on there and I'll tell you one thing. I've watched Kevin Aguiar. He's had numbers. He's had valid questions. I've watched Colin Bias. He's had valid questions. He's had statistics and numbers and been totally ignored. And they're going to be the people who are vilified. They're going to be the people who are being condemned. They're being condemned for doing their job for the people. That is, by definition, an authoritarian fascist government. Coogan is a thug. He's taken over this city. It's like the mafia's got control of the city. And I know for a fact they threatened somebody with charging them with kidnapping to get them out of the damn school department, which was absurd. It'd never make it stick, but the poor person didn't have the money to go fight them in court. It's out of control. The city is out of control. They let a guy, a known terrorist like Malone, stay in office for months and cover up all the things he did. They never explained how they could hire him when he was already thrown out of 2 other school systems for harassing women, for being a bully, for being obnoxious. No. Paul River does whatever they want in Paul River because it's his city now. He owns it. And if you say anything out of the ordinary, you get condemned. See, that's why he wants to keep the city democratic, because that's what the Democrats do. Anybody with a different opinion than they have is labeled and condemned. You're a fascist, you're a racist, you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist, everything. Conspiracy theory. Most of those conspiracy theories, by the way, have been proven. It was Russian disinformation. Steele Darcy, no, it wasn't. It was true. Hunter's laptop wasn't real. It was Russian disinformation. No, it's true. Everybody that said they were true, Russian disinformation. Why do you think they don't want anybody to see the statistics for 75 years on a COVID vaccine? Because there have been thousands of deaths. Why don't they want anybody to see all these years later all the stuff on the Kennedy assassination? Why? Why did they hide thousands of hours of video from January 6th? Why did they suppress information?
Chip there. Oh, there you are, Chip. You're back.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. There are numerous cases. They'll send Lamort out of court. And of course, now, what do we got now that's been resurrected that I think is going to be a gigantic settlement case will be the Anthony Harden case.
Yeah. I
mean, we covered that on the show. We looked at the brief and some of the court statements. It's going to be, and I mean, and that's the other thing. In Paul River, we don't get to know how much they pay people off to make these things go away. All the lawsuits we've had, they actually said the taxpayers don't have the right to know, and the city council let them say it.
That's right.
That's why most of them should be gone, because, like I said, we don't have the money. If I ever hit the mega, I can't hit anything. I got no luck when it comes to that stuff. I keep hoping that, because I will hire a lawyer. We will find everything out, because there's no way you won't win that in court, but they're going to drag you up to the Supreme Court on that case of Massachusetts. But you will have to, because the Constitution's clear. They have to tell us things like that. They have to tell us something.
Right.
But, you can't do it. These people are, this is worse than a Nazi regime. So
I gotta interrupt. Truth Seeker sent me the messages, and I was finally able to view them. And they're pictures. They're pictures of the amazing city councilor Linda Pereira at Price Right with questionable parking.
With what question?
Questionable parking.
In a handicap spot?
I don't know. Possibly.
Possibly? Okay. It's alleged.
Yeah.
Allegedly parking there.
Yeah. But the pictures are clear. It is Linda's car. It is Linda standing behind it. It is Linda's license plate. I mean, she's got to have that vanity plate. So very interesting. Well, I will put them as soon as I can get them off of Facebook and get them on the system. I will probably have them for the next show. So.
Yeah, but it's like I said, as bad as that is, the school committee meetings are just totally out of control. Yeah, he can't plead the fifth, Linda. That's true. And you're right on every point there. No, you're right. Those are federal pardons. And he could still be held accountable.
Okay, Truth Seeker says no, it was a no parking zone.
Oh, no parking zone. Well, that's not quite as big a fine as... I don't know what the fine is for parking in the no parking zone, but...
Yeah. It's probably $25 for a no parking zone.
Yeah, well, but they'll get out of it, because they'll say, well, that was on private property, so the Fall River police don't have any right to ticket them, because it's somebody that's in the political realm. So, but look, we talk about this all the time, and our viewers are really well educated on this stuff, and they're right up to speed. But we're not. I think we all vote. I mean, any one of our viewers that's putting in, if you don't vote, let us know, because I'll be surprised if you guys don't vote, because obviously you're engaged.
You're correct, Linda. Only a governor can. I just got another thing in from Commonwealth Beacon. Parking minimums topple in Somerville. Somerville will be the second city in Massachusetts to entirely do away with requirements that new developments be built with a minimum amount of parking. So there you go. Another community destroying their neighborhoods, destroying their community. I mean, it's almost like Salem, which only has 4,000 parking spaces for the entire city.
Yeah.
And they get, millions of people every year.
Yeah. And money talks and bullshit walks. That's the problem. These people are all about money. And Somerville is one of the poorest communities in the Boston area.
And those are the cities that are doing away with the parking requirements,
That's
like
right.
Fall River is doing.
The people who need it the most
get it the least.
Get it the least. That's the equation, because when you look at those cities, I know you've probably been to Somerville, CJ. I've been to Somerville numerous times. Actually, that's where they used to manufacture firefighters gear. I went up to the factory up there, and when I first got on the fire department, and I bought my coat and all my gear, and then when I made chief and I had to get a different color coat, I went up there and got the coat. And rather than go to a shop around here, you got it better. They had like an outlet store there, and you could try them all on and stuff. And it was, but Somerville, kind of like Fall River, a lot of three-deckers. You go to Fall River, you look at New Bedford, you look at all these cities with a lower economic base. You don't have to worry about parking in Newton. They're all single family houses. They got virtually no multiple family homes in these places. Right. So you never see them put on, the zoning ordinances, because number one, nobody gets into Newton that they don't want. They don't want market rate housing in Newton. They don't want poor people in Newton, like in Martha's Vineyard. They wanted illegals till they got there. So, this is like you said, they destroyed a community. They don't give a shit. Now, if it snows and we got a blizzard, where are you going to park in Fall River? There's going to be murders over parking places. Three-year ban. Oh God. Well, that's real fascism. Okay. And now that they've proved the masks don't work and social distance didn't work, the report came out that everything Fauci said was a lie, and that's another pardon that's coming. They're going to pardon Fauci.
Yeah.
Because he knew it came from the Wuhan lab. He was involved in Gainer research. He knew everything that they do, everything that they recommended wasn't going to help. And it was proven with that report that came out. And we know that by the facts. There are third world countries that did virtually nothing about COVID and had less per capita deaths than we did in the United States. They killed more people by sticking them in nursing homes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and Fauci, Fauci was anointed a hero. He was elevated to a God status. So, it's like a blivet. You know what a blivet is? It's like 5 pounds of shit in a 1 pound bag. So. Yeah, well, listen, they turned the city red. Let's make it stay conservative. And in the next election, let's bring it home in the next election when the local officials are running. Let's not forget. Now everybody's going to gain. Well, the orange ogre is in, and everybody's doing the dance now. Everything is looking better on the national scene. They're already looking at peace in the Middle East just because he's in, and some peace anyway. Hezbollah's already made a truce and stuff, and Ukraine is already talking about making a deal, and everything is moving well just because of the threat. But we've got to do that on the city level. Yeah, well, lie on a firearm application, federal offense, and state offense. You could never get a firearm license again. You'd be in jail. But he also disposed of a firearm with a loaded firearm near a school.
That's right.
So not only did he falsify the application, which is a crime, he disposed of a firearm near a school, which is a serious crime. But Hunter's just a poor, he's a poor little kid. What is he, 12? He stole shit from this cookie jar. But I mean, poor, and the Democrats love to say that in a dumpster or a trash can or someplace. Yeah. But he dumped it. But they make excuses for Hunter. Well, he was on crack. Well, we got a lot of people on crack in San Francisco. I don't see them getting pardons or doing anything. They're living in the street. Hunter's a millionaire. He's riding around on Air Force One, and they're saying, poor Hunter, he was on crack. Well, we got thousands of crack addicts laying in the streets of San Francisco and other cities right now, either committing crimes or killing themselves, and they're doing nothing about it. So you think they care about regular people? You're nuts.
Yep. Well, this has been an interesting show. It's been very informative, and I think we're going to have a little bit more to share with you on Wednesday. So remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday.